What is going on with everybody? Episode 52 of Stats Over Politics. We got some new faces in here, some familiar faces. Under me, we got our man Khalil. He's a day one listener coming in to hopefully not talk some more Niner shit because I don't know how much I can handle.
He's a Panthers fan.
Oh, he's a Panthers fan? My nigga, we can rock with that. We got our man, the myth, the legend, Manny Anderson, coming back to talk his unfortunate 12 talk. And then we got the man, baby. Vonny's Hotline, 1 and 3. Jaevon Toddy. How we doing today?
I knew he was gonna bring that up. Yeah, we had a rough weekend, but we still won some. We won some money, but it was not the way that it was supposed to be. Had to battle back a couple of times. Kenny Pickett brought me back. I'll say that Kenny Pickett brought me back on Sunday night. So, yeah, the Bucs plus 5.5 was not the best bet. It sounded good last Monday, 7 days ago. Sounded good, but we're here now.
I try to let you know, Toddy. I try to let you know that Notre Dame and 5.5 was gonna fail you, man. I don't like seeing you down, man. Khalil, how we doing today, man?
Just chilling, trying to get through the day sometimes. That's cool.
What about you, man? Well, how we doing?
Excited? Come on, man. The 12s won, man. The 12s.
They fucked around.
Not even one topic in.
Yeah.
Hey, gotta let it be known.
This 12 shit, man.
Gotta let it be known. We here.
So unfortunately, since we only have one Niner fan on the show today, I'm gonna roll it to you, Toddy, first. The 49ers beat the Giants 31-12. Let me hear your thoughts.
It felt like ages ago because it happened on Thursday, but it was very light. We played the Giants. Let's fast forward back to last Thursday when the Cowboys were still undefeated and everybody was talking shit saying, "Oh man, you guys gave up this amount of points to the Giants, blah blah blah." And now you're kind of looking back, and now the Niners are one of the 3 undefeated teams in the NFL. So, just the way that we started off slow. I thought Brock Purdy kind of had to get into the groove of things, which is weird because he usually is pretty much kind of on when the game first starts, but he's throwing some questionable passes. We didn't have our elite route runner, that is, in Brandon Ayuk, so it's kind of just a more Debo, Christian McCaffrey. Oh yeah, George Kittle's on our team too. He had 90 yards receiving, about five catches. Debo Samuel, he had an all-pro performance. Not shocked because he's an all-pro caliber receiver, number 1 receiver, that is. A lot of people saying he's not a number 1. He's a number 1 receiver. And he showed that on Thursday night. The defense looked pretty up to speed, like they were supposed to look. I thought on a couple of days before that, on Sunday, we looked at kind of suspect against the Rams. And we're getting up a lot of dink and dunk yards, but I think we kind of tightened that up a little bit. Fred Warner was flying all over the place. Trent Williams punched a guy and posted about it. That was pretty cool. Just the Niners, I think they look like one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the league. Kevin might have something to say about that.
I knew it was coming. 5 minutes in.
His team just got done playing, but very dominant performance. There were some other teams over the weekend that looked pretty dominant, but I feel like the Niners kind of get swept under the rug because, we played on Thursday. So we're 3-0.
All right, Khalil, what were your thoughts on the 49ers beating the Giants 31-12?
That was as expected. I feel like Saquon not playing.
Yeah.
Niners defense, the quarterback. I just felt like that's a game they should have won and dominated, in which they did. So, not really surprised.
All right, man. NFC West of rivals, I guess. What are your thoughts on the game?
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like the Niners look like the most. As much as I hate to say this, they look like probably the most complete team in the NFL when it comes to defense and offense. Even having their number 2 receiver being out in Brandon Ayuk, they were still able to put up numbers and get the ball up and rolling. I think it's as all the talk goes around about Purdy, like it really is going to have to come down to him, I think. At the end of the day, when they get into the playoffs, because I believe they're going to make it to the playoffs, they're still going to lose to my Seahawks, but that's neither here nor there. They're still going to have to come down to Purdy. It's still going to have to come down to him when it comes to the playoffs because the way the offense is ran, Kyle Shanahan, he dials it up for him. It's just a matter of him being able to execute the plays because there were some, missed opportunities I was throwing out there, but because they're so stacked on both ends of the ball, pause. It's okay. It's okay to be able to miss it. But overall, it's the Giants as well too. So take it with a grain of salt.
Brock Purdy is undefeated against Seattle Seahawks in his career, by the way.
Hey, don't do this. We're going
That's a game in the regular season and a game in the playoffs. Just wanted to let
Isn't there some money on the line?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can't wait.
So final thoughts on this game. Everyone's talking about how good Brock Purdy is, but no one's talking about the 3 picks he almost threw. It is completely embarrassing for your tight end to break up a pass and go like this. I'm just saying. They dropped a lot of picks out there. Brock Purdy was looking kind of shaky, but like Manny said, it is the Giants. We talked about the former Cowboys.
I didn't know there was a stat on most picks when Jalen Hurts.
I'm just saying, man, if it wasn't for Kelsey or Kittle, it would have been one. So, I mean, we got to take the highs with the lows, man, with the Niners. Brock Purdy, everyone's expecting him to keep going off of what he did last year. Toddy keeps talking about last year and how he did this and how he did that. And it's all about what you've done for me lately. So they're 3-0. You got to give them the respect. Toddy mentioned them possibly being the best team of the division in the conference. I don't agree with that. As we all know, we see the number 11 on, but we'll get into them next. But Manny, tell me what your thoughts were on the Denver Broncos losing 70-20. I repeat, 70-20. This was not a Madden game. This is real life.
As a defensive player, it's embarrassing. These are supposed to be professionals, man.
They got kids.
Like that's the crazy part about it. They're supposed to be professionals. Yeah. So it's just sad, honestly. But they got to do some soul searching. It's one of these games where you look back, you got to watch the film. I don't care what some coaches may swipe it under the rug, like, hey, this was just a fluke thing. But no, you got to watch this to see who was not given all of their full effort and who was, because something like this just can't happen ever again. And, kudos to Mike McDaniel for not wanting to embarrass them by, kicking the field goal, but hell, I would have kicked that field goal. We running it up, okay?
Just like Evan said, they had a chance to break the record. They chose not to.
Wow.
Yeah, they're trying to show respect, but hey, listen, we're here to score, okay? If I'm on offense, we're here to score.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't kick it, man. You're already up 50, so you're talking about you don't want to embarrass somebody. You're up 50 points. Like Manny said, these are professionals. They got kids in the stands. You're up 50 points. You might as well go tie the record. Tell your kids you tied it. You made everyone sit there to watch you win by 50 points. You might as well have kicked the field goal to knock it up. Toddy, I'm going to go to you next. What were your thoughts on the Dolphins game?
I had them on my parlay, so I was keeping tabs on the game. I did see it was like 35-10 at one point. I was like, oh, yeah, they're good. They're going to win. And then I kind of just clicked back. I had the little quad screen, have YouTube TV. I don't know if you guys do. All the Sunday ticket games, you get all 4. You get watch up to 4 games. So I don't really have them on one of my screens. I have them on Red Zone. So whenever Red Zone pops up, because every time they're about to score, they show when they're about to score. I'm like, oh, okay, it's 35-10. Next time they show back, it's 56-10. I'm like, 56 points? That's crazy. And then I'm refreshing, going on Twitter. Somebody just tweeted 70. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way they just put up 70 points. And I'm like, going back in the group chat, why are they beating them by 70? Like, did he do something? And they were like, yeah, McDaniel was like the ball boy for the Broncos. They didn't give him an interview. I was like, oh. So in the words of Dion, it's personal. It's personal. So I'm like, well, why the hell are they up 70? I'm like, do they got the starters out? Yeah, the Tua's not playing. They got the backup in, Mike White. Dude, the backup running back had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's been getting picked up in fantasy now. So, man, I don't know, man. Tua's been on an MVP type tear. I don't know if that's too early to say, but I mean, the numbers say otherwise. Even Manny kind of said, like, Tua's been that guy, man. And I feel like a lot of people kind of, were questioning his health and if he's going to be healthy. I think a lot of people universally understood, like, if Tua was healthy, that they would be a solid team. A lot of people just were like, hey, we don't know. He hasn't really shown us that he'll be able to stay healthy. And albeit it's the first 3 games of the season, but the Dolphins look like they're one of the 3 undefeated teams in the league right now. And they got a good test coming up next week at Buffalo. So might be something to look out for on the hotline.
Before we go to you, Khalil, we got to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, the host of the show, Shaun Holko. Thank you for joining us, man.
Hair is all slick back.
Man, that's professional, Shaun, man. Look at him.
What's up? It took a second for it to load on my screen. I was still chilling in behind the scenes. I'm coming live from a remote location, aka Woodland, and I appreciate you guys getting us started.
An undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location. So, Khalil, I'm bring it to you next. What were your thoughts on the Dolphins beating the Broncos 70-29?
So when I looked at the score, I was driving. So I looked, I'm like, whoa, hold on. Is this a Madden game or something?
Yeah.
Why are they up 50 points? Like, and then I look at the stats. I'm looking up at a running back that I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
Have over 200 yards. So I'm just like, are they not tackling or what's going on? Like, tackling must have been optional. I don't know. But that game was crazy. And I didn't get a chance to watch it because I was watching the Packer game. So go Pack go. But I wish I tuned in because that is crazy. The highlights I've seen, Tyreek Hill going crazy. I'm not surprised Tua is doing what he's doing because if it wasn't for injuries, I'm sure he probably would have won MVP last year. Maybe he was on the same trajectory right now, but it's not really surprising.
To see them go down like this and all the noise last year with Russell Wilson, and now it's kind of reversed now. Last year was the offense. They couldn't do anything. Now it's the defense. Arguably, the Broncos had a top 5 defense last year, and now it has been the complete shit show. Russell Wilson's coming out and doing this thing. You can't blame Russell Wilson. I saw a stat earlier on Twitter that I had to bring up. So Russell Wilson's stats on the season: 791 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 99.5% rating, 65% completion. Patrick Mahomes, 803 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, same passer rating at 99.5 with the same completion percentage at 65.5. So you can't say it's Russ anymore. Russ is out here doing his thing. Jerry Jeudy's coming back slowly. I have him on a fantasy team. I wish it was a lot faster. Marvin Mims, is coming and being a big play guy for them. And then Sutton. Sutton is having a regurgence in his career. Last year, he kind of fell off, and Jeudy was really stepping up to be the number 1 receiver. But now with Jeudy coming back, Sutton's being that number 1 guy, and him and Russ are really connecting. But it just comes down to the defense, man. If the defense can't stop anybody, if you give up 70 points, it's really bad to see. And to just what we're talking about last year, Sean Payton has started off 0-3. Nathaniel Hackett started off 3-0. So I don't know. Everyone says Sean Payton was going to come in and do all this. So I'm interested to see how they bounce back from this game because they have to. If you come up with another L, it might be time to pack it up.
I don't think Hackett started out 3-0. They definitely lost their first game. I would know because I definitely lost my game.
Oh, he started off 2-1. Excuse me. He started off 2-1.
Monday
Yeah,
night.
and the third game, their second victory was against Toddy and I's 49ers, in which they won 10-9 on Sunday Night Football, and I was there, and I got trolled by all the Broncos fans. It was a lovely experience, and just producer Shaun's gonna step in real quickly. Manny and Khalil, if you could do me a favor and turn your devices, I'd really appreciate it, so then we can get the full screen view of you guys. Perfect, thank you very much. And so
Paying the big bucks.
I saw that you guys already talked about the Niners. I will just say that Niners are going to win the Super Bowl this year. That's all that's needed to be said.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right,
He
Kevin.
said, "Oh,
That's
okay."
right.
Seattle might have
Came in hot.
And the other thing that I just wanted to say about the Dolphins and Broncos before we move on is there's talk about Hackett. There's talk about Peyton. Mike McDaniel didn't even get an interview. This guy, he grew up in Colorado.
He might be coach of the year.
Diehard, he will be coach of the year. Diehard Broncos fan. He was a ball boy because his stepdad at the time worked for the Broncos organization. So, nepotism got him in as a ball boy as a child. But the point is that he was everything Broncos. He even got his start. I'm not sure if this was mentioned, but he even got his start in the NFL coaching with the Broncos. And for him not even to get an interview, okay, you guys didn't hire him. You went with Nathaniel Hackett because he had so much success with Aaron Rodgers. But for him not to even get an interview, he is a better man than me, because I know he put up 70 on him, but the petty meter would have been turned all the way up. I'm kicking that field goal. We are setting an NFL record, and the Broncos can live with that forever. Because, I mean, the NFL record stood from like 1940. It was the first time that a team scored over 70 points since 1966. He's a better man than me, because I definitely would have kicked that field goal, scored 73 points, and the Broncos can have that ugly record against them for eternity, or at least for another 50 years. And so shout out to Mike McDaniel. Kevin, do you want to keep driving the ship, or should I take on the reins?
Absolutely not, brother. It's all you.
All right. Well, I appreciate you holding it down for me, because I was late. I was covering a volleyball game here in Woodland. And so I'm glad to be here. Episode number 52 of Stats Over Politics. And thank you to Manny and Khalil for joining us as well. As now we move on to the Cardinals beating the Cowboys 28-16. Shout out to Bob, who has become Kevin's best friend. And that's an insider for the listeners of Stats Over Politics, especially last week's episode. But Bob was blowing up my phone during that Thursday night game saying, how could the 49ers give up 12 points to the Giants? We put a goose egg on them. How could they give up 12 points to the Giants? Well, the Cowboys lost by 12 points to the Cardinals, who are the leading candidate in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. And so it's honestly ridiculous. Manny, I'm going to toss this to you first as a fan of an NFC West team, being the Seattle Seahawks. What did you think?
Another bird team.
Another bird team, right? And another
Sea
bird
pigeons.
team.
No, don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Sea pigeons, I mean, I call them something else, but I'm just going to be nice, because what I call them is explicit, so I'll just leave it there. But you're a Seahawks fan, Manny, and so was this just a blip on the radar? Are the Cardinals legit? Was this a bad look for the Cowboys? I know that they lost Trevon Diggs to a torn ACL in practice this past week leading up to the game, but what did you see on Sunday between the Cardinals and the Cowboys?
I think the Cardinals played a great game. They was able to run the ball. You know, I don't care what anyone say. If you look back at all the teams that do well, make it deep into the playoffs, they all able to have some type of running game. And the Cardinals, they were able to run the ball on this stout Cowgirls defense. Yes, do I feel like with Trevon Diggs being hurt, did it impact them? I do think so. I'm not going to say that he's not a highly touted cornerback in the NFL, because he is. But did I think it was a huge hindrance for them to where they should have lost? No, I don't think that at all. But I just want to, if anything, I give it up to the Cardinals. The Cardinals had their game plan, they made it happen, and they ended up coming out with the win. Cowboys, they blew it. Let's just say that. They just blew it.
Khalil, what did you think about Josh Dobbs absolutely running all over the Dallas Cowboys, the vaunted Cowboys defense that until yesterday, a lot of people like to claim that they were the best defense in the NFL. But if Josh Dobbs is running all over you, I think that says everything it needs to.
Yeah, that was a surprising game. I was expecting the Cowboys to at least blow them out, as like they blew out the Giants, but kudos to the Cardinals for being able to run the ball. I feel like, they probably had some mental aspects of Trevon Diggs going down, one of their leaders of defense. But I just feel like the Cardinals they're still a horrible team. I'll just say that. I'm sorry. They're still a horrible team, but it's a good win, a good morale
What does that
boost,
mean for
maybe.
the Cowboys then?
You heard what he said. You heard what he said.
I don't know. We'll see next week if they bounce back. Aren't they playing the Dolphins next week or something?
No, the Dolphins got the Bills coming up, so I don't off the
Okay.
top of my head, I'm not sure who the Cowboys got, but it'll be interesting without a doubt.
They have to bounce back.
and So, Kevin, I will toss it to you last, because I know that you are just going to eviscerate them boys.
100%.
So, Toddy, what did you think? I mean, was this kind of just a blip on the radar? It's just, as Bob liked to say, any given Sunday. I don't know about that, but what do you think, Toddy?
I got Josh Dobbs on my refrigerator, and I'm throwing darts at him. I'm gonna be throwing darts at him. I'm dodging the darts. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw Josh Dobbs' TikTok. I don't have TikTok yet, but Kev sent it in the group chat and posted Josh Dobbs basically trolling Micah Parsons, what he said on his podcast about Josh Dobbs. But the Cardinals rushed for 222 yards. I feel like that was a very distinctive part in the game. It's going to be hard, like Manny already said. If your team is able to rush for over 200 yards, you're going to win the game most of the time. Dak Prescott throwing very timely picks in the red zone when they're trying to, cut into the lead a little bit and you're kicking field goals and this, that, and the third. They can't. The Cowboys went for it on 4th down on one of the red zone tries, and that led them driving down the field in like 3 plays and scoring a touchdown. So unable to really convert in the red zone, not really being able to convert points, turning the ball over in the red zone, and allowing all these rush yards. A lot of people are going to say, well, Trayvon Diggs, Trayvon Diggs is I think, in my opinion, is a top 5 corner in this league. I don't think the Cowboys really should have been hindered by Trayvon Diggs in this game because you're playing against Josh Dobbs. It's not Aaron Rodgers. You're not playing against Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. Like, you're not playing against any one of those guys. You're playing against literally a backup quarterback who was picked up off of the street literally 2 weeks before the season started and has been, I wouldn't say tearing the league up, but I mean, he's been, kind of popping some eyes here and there. And they had a big lead against, the Giants a few weeks ago. They ended up giving that up. So, I mean, the Cardinals have been putting up points in the NFL. So they're in contention to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, but they're not playing like one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's another team, Chicago Bears, that we'll probably end up getting into a little later. But the Cardinals are a very feisty team that a lot of people probably look over because they don't have their starting quarterback. But Josh Dobbs has been playing very exceptional. And, a lot of people think that their head coach is quirky, putting your fire in your belly. But the Cardinals, they like playing for him, I guess. So as for the Cowboys, I mean, it's so frustrating with the Cowboys because, Kevin has already said that a lot of people wanted to crown them after 2 weeks of the season. I feel like most of America was kind of up on that train a little bit. And for them to kind of go out and lose to the Cardinals is kind of like, this is not surprising because this is something that the Cowboys usually do. They lose games that they're supposed to win all the time. And usually in prime time, they start to shrivel up. A lot of people are starting to come for Dak Prescott's head and say, hey, is he really a top 10 quarterback? I'm not sure. Or is he just Kirk Cousins in Dallas? That's what a lot of people like to say. Two things can be right at the same time, but right now it's Dak has to play better. I didn't know if the play calling was that good. When you're down by 2 scores and you're running the ball, when you kind of have to abandon the run game a little bit. I get that the run game was working for them, but you kind of have to be in a pass-heavy situation when you're down by 2 scores with like 9 minutes left. I didn't really think there was a sense of urgency. Even when they got to the red zone several times, they didn't feel like there was a sense of urgency to try and score quickly so they could retain the ball back. But that's neither here nor there. Cardinals beat the Cowboys. Cowboys got to play better. Cowboys are supposed to be a top 3 team. Are they a top 3 team in the NFC? We're not sure.
Kevin, you have the floor.
All right. So the Cowgirls. Everyone purchased their tickets to Vegas. Everyone was ready to go. They're booking the rooms, seeing what shows are going to be going. And I don't know why. I've been telling everybody it comes
What's in
down
Vegas,
to the
Kevin?
quarterback. The Super Bowl's in Vegas. I'm telling everybody it comes down to the quarterback. Coming into last week, Dak Prescott accounted for 2 touchdowns. Not every game is going to be the Jets and the Giants. I know the defense got some scoop and scores and some interceptions, giving them nice yardage on the other side. If it comes down to Dak, he's going to fuck it up. Let's just be honest. He threw it into triple coverage for the game-winning pick. And Toddy mentioned to me all offseason that this secondary, best in the league. Bringing in Stephon Gilmore. Toddy talked about when he won defensive MVP when we were 4 years old. All he saw on Sunday was number 2, Brown. That's all he saw all game. That's all he saw. He was chasing him the whole game. And you're telling me this is the best defense in football? You gave up 185 rushing yards to the Arizona Cardinals, to James Conner. Garry, I hope you're listening because I know that's your man. You guys let him walk, and he's coming in hot. So it's embarrassing to see that them do this. And then the last thing I'm going to say on this, at the end of the first game with the Jets and the Bills, Josh Allen threw a pick to lose the game. He came out and said, I got to be better. I lost us this game. I cannot keep doing this. Dak throws a game-losing interception. Well, we are who we thought we are. You got to be better.
It ain't my fault.
No, you got to be better, my guy. Going into last season when they're trailing, Dak has thrown 9 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Toddy mentioned the red zone. The past 2 weeks they've been horrible in the red zone. Against the Cardinals, they were 1 for 5, and last week they were 2 for 6. They were the best red zone team in the NFL with a 75% completion, and they fired their OC. So everyone's been talking about this new OC and how they're going to come in here, and Mike McCarthy's going to call plays, and at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Dak Prescott. And this day, he was not the better quarterback. And I just want to go out here and throw out Kazir White called him a bum. Next play, picked him off and sent him home. Former Eagle. So I just have to throw that out there.
Oh, that's why. I get it now.
Yeah.
He used to play against Dak. It didn't make sense to me at first, but then I was like, oh, okay, he used to play against Dak. I get it.
Yeah, man. Dak thought he was him. Had to humble him real quick. Oh, I have to make sure I said this. So, Rob, my man, I hope you're listening. He told Shaun, any given Sunday, Toddy, was LL Cool J out there? Cameron Diaz? Jamie Foxx?
Willie
Joshua
Beeman?
Dobbs. So I don't want to hear that any given Sunday thing because
when do the Eagles play the Cowboys again? I forget.
Week 7.
Week 7. Oh, they got the Niners coming week 5, so get ready for that too.
The Cowboys are on a downhill because we play them right after you guys, so they better figure it out like Khalil said, or it's got to get ugly.
This is gonna get ugly.
Trey Lance chance?
Oh boy.
Well, maybe that's why Dak Prescott didn't want to take accountability, is because he knows that he has a young gun breathing down his neck now in Trey Lance. And also the Cowboys are going to have to make a decision on Trey Lance eventually. I mean, I think he has another 2 more years, including if they pick up his 5th-year option. And so Toddy says they're not. So I guess we'll end up seeing about that. To me, I think that they would pick up his 5th-year option just because why else would you give up a 4th-round pick just to have the guy ride your bench for 2 years? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So we'll see about that. And just for everyone who follows us on social media, on X at Stats or Politics, on TikTok and Instagram, but especially Instagram and X. The advertisement said that my friend Keith Jogonatis was supposed to join us. Unfortunately, he was unable to join us today because he wanted to defend himself after I came after him last week saying he's the most roller coaster fan that I know. But nevertheless, Keith's team, they beat the Raiders on Sunday Night Football 23-15, and it's going crazy. He was so excited as if they just actually won the Super Bowl in Vegas, when in reality it was week 3, and they beat the Las Vegas Raiders, led by Jimmy Garoppolo and Josh McDaniels, who apparently, even though you're down 1 possession in the 4th quarter with like 5 minutes to go, let's get that field goal. Let's get that field goal. So, Toddy, I'm going to toss it to you first on this one. Just what did you think about this game? Was it more so the Steelers beat the Raiders or the Raiders raided?
Shout out to Kenny Pickett. You guys brought me back from a dark place on Saturday Night Football. After Notre Dame lost to Ohio State. We'll probably get into that a little bit later. But Kenny Pickett brought me back. We were facing some dark times there. But I think no one really won. Jimmy kind of just jimmied, and us Niner fans, it was just so relaxing to kind of just sit back and just watch and just be like, oh, I know what he's gonna do there. Like whenever you see Jimmy Garoppolo point down the field, just know an interception is looming. he is due for a couple of hospital balls, as us Niner fans like to say, when he throws the ball over the middle and there's like two defenders ready to come and sandwich them. Like, he's due for like 2 or 3 of those a game. And Devontae got hit with a couple of hospital balls. So did Jacoby Myers early in the game. And I don't think that they're kind of used to a quarterback who's more dink and dunk as much that Jimmy is, because, well, I mean, Devontae Adams had like 20 receptions because he was the only guy that was pretty much getting open every single time possible. And I was like, do the Steelers not know that Devontae Adams is one of the best receivers in football? Like, I would try to double him as much as possible. But Jimmy, he gave you 3 picks. 3-pick Jimmy. He's good for at least 1 a game. He might when he starts pointing that finger up, I'm telling you, he might throw 2, 3, 4 of them. It could get real ugly. But Matt Canada, a lot of Steeler fans, aka Gary and Keith, were probably calling for Matt Canada's head a couple of weeks ago. But all that goes away once you play against the Raiders. I'm telling you, man. Once you play against the Raiders, you look like freaking the West. Kyle Shanahan meets Andy Reid, meets Kellen Moore, meets whatever offensive coordinator that is an offensive genius. You look like that whenever you play against the Raiders. I'm telling you right now. And Kenny Pickett looked better. He made some questionable throws. I feel like once they got Kenny Pickett pretty much like on the move, play action, he was a lot more comfortable. You saw George Pickens got to make a couple of plays. Freiermuth, who was on my fantasy team, by the way, caught a touchdown pass. Najee Harris, a lot of people are kind of pedaling back on Najee Harris a little bit, saying that he's not really that good. He's this, that, and the third. Not really getting that much separation from the defense. He's really splitting carries with, I forget what the other running back's name is, was a little bit more shiftier than he is. But the Steelers, they kind of got comfortable a little bit even after getting those 3 picks. And then I texted in the group just, hey, Mike, should I be worried a little bit? Wouldn't it be hilarious for Jimmy to throw 3 picks and still have a chance to win the game at the end? But the Raiders kind of raidered, and I feel like they were kind of masked. They were wearing a mask for the beginning of the season when they came out and beat the Broncos. They're like, oh, the Raiders. For that 1 week, everybody thought the Raiders were going to win the division because they were the only undefeated team in the division, but then kind of came back to reality the next week. And then being on Sunday Night Football, Jimmy G and the bright lights, he's gonna put on a show. I'll tell you that for sure. He's gonna put on a show, whether that's him throwing 3 picks or he's gonna step out of the back of the end zone, or it's gonna be something. He's gonna Jimmy. And a lot of people are kind of calling for McDaniels' head. All the Raider fans are frustrated, like, Jimmy G, don't ever call Jimmy G a winner ever again in your life. And I'm like, hey man, he was a winner. You can't. Come on, man, you gotta put some respect on Jimmy G's name, man. But he came out, and I was not surprised on how he played because, us Niner fans, me and Shaun, we saw it a lot, countless times, and as his tenure as a Niner. And he's going to throw some picks. and some of the picks that he throws, he might hit the guy in stride, and they might, have some room to run later. So Steelers kind of just didn't shoot themselves in the foot as much because if you're able to win the turnover battle, it's going to be easy for you to win.
Yeah, that's definitely Jimmy G in a nutshell. And to answer your question, Toddy, I didn't want to interrupt you after I thought of who it was. I believe you're talking about Anthony McFarland, who's the shifty running back on the Steelers, and that's Booger McFarland's son. And so,
swear to God.
Swear to God.
That's crazy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the more you know. So, Khalil, what did you think? Was this more so the Raiders just being the Raiders, or are the Steelers? Because the Steelers played the eventual Super Bowl champions in week 1. And so, as I kept telling Gary, there's nowhere to go but up. And so, are the Steelers legit?
Hard to say. Quarterback play plays a big factor in it. Kenny Pickett is average at best, in my opinion. But
Daniel Jones.
Let them know.
I guess.
I guess. You're comparing shit to shit, so I guess this one stinks a little bit less.
I'm not even going
But
to engage.
I mean, George Pickens. I mean, he has weapons. It's just about him being more accurate. Because if you're watching the game, they were basically daring him to throw the ball all game. Just go ahead, throw the ball. Like no one believes in his arm. So I mean, it's just about him getting better and more comfortable in the system, maybe. But to answer your question, Shaun, I think the Raiders just raided. Basically, they just gave up plays after play after play. They can't run the ball. They're just relying on Jimmy G to make a play to Devontae Adams like he's Aaron Rodgers or something. And it's not going to work. I mean, I feel like the Raiders should just trade him back to Green Bay and make everything better.
Okay. Yeah.
Manny, what do you think about this game? Are the Steelers legit?
No. They just flat out no. The score, they end up winning 23-15, and Jimmy G threw 3 picks.
Another one by 8.
Couldn't score. They need to put up more points. They need to get the ball in Pickens' hands more. He's the best player on the field on the offensive side for the Steelers. They need to figure out the way to get him 20 targets like Devontae Adams. Not saying he is a Devontae Adams, but hey, he's your best player. Figure out ways to get him the ball. Okay. And then for the Raiders, I mean, Jimmy, it's sad. People talk about how, he's a winner, but you got to look at the teams that he was on and what was around him. Him being with the Niners, he has all-stars all around him. So you just got to get them the ball and let them just run down the field, okay? That's all you got to do. But with Jimmy, the fact that he pointed to Devontae Adams to go deep and then threw it to the whole opposite side, bro, what is he doing? And
Classic Jimmy.
It's the Raiders are, the Raiders are raidering. And if I was a Steeler fan, I mean, I would be happy that I got the W, but I wouldn't be excited about it moving forward because there's still some missing holes. I think Pickett is just an okay quarterback. I don't think he hasn't done anything that has like wowed you yet as a quarterback. And so as a Steeler, I'll be worried. I wouldn't say they're legit yet.
Okay, Kevin, are you going to make it unanimous here that the Steelers, they aren't legit? And Garry's either still delayed on his flight from Vegas or he is in the air right now, so he's probably not listening. And when he does listen and does his timestamps, his head will probably explode because he'll want to defend his Steelers. Well, guess what? You can't because you're not here.
We're tied for first.
Yeah. Man, coming into this preseason, we preview for the Steelers. I had them being very high. I saw all the preseason stuff. I fell for all the hype. Going into week 1, I took the Steelers, man. I thought they were going to go in there and shock the world, and
you look like
shocked them. Yeah, so they're just playing back to normal. You got them chanting "Fire Matt Canada." He's just not putting them in the great positions. And I think it was Toddy who mentioned him earlier, but Najee Harris, man, this guy coming out was projected to be one of the next big things, and he's actually now just splitting back. He's splitting carries with Warren, and they're just not having explosive offense. If it's not a screenplay, it's really not going anywhere. George Pickens is a hell of a player, but he can't do it by himself. So I don't believe in two-glove Kenny. I know I stated it. I still think he's better than Daniel Jones. But to answer the question, are the Steelers legit? I'm gonna say no. Jimmy G's out here throwing the game away, and I don't know. I think Toddy mentioned this as well. Sending Devontae somewhere. He said after the game, he ain't got time to lose. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what goes. Everyone was talking about him getting traded midseason to the Jets with Aaron Rodgers and reuniting in New York. But now that that's gone to shit, I don't think he wants to go to New York. So it's going to be interesting to see how this season plays out. But before I pass it over, Josh Jacobs needs to switch his number back to 28 because he has been straight dog shit ever since he changed his number. And I have him on my fantasy team, and it is just it's stressful to watch. I mean, that's the only reason why I tune into Raider games, and he's just not doing anything for me. So it's very stressful.
I think it's definitely personal. I think for the Raiders, what they're doing is when teams play against them, they're going to stack the box, and they're not going to let Josh Jacobs beat them. So they're going to, say, hey, Jimmy G, you're a winner, right? Try and beat us with your arm. Let's see what that does. Oh, 3 picks? Yeah, we'll keep stacking the box and make you figure out and see. Let's see if you're really a winner when you leave Kyle Shanahan. So I feel like what they're doing is they're stacking the box and they're like, yeah, you're not going to beat us because Josh Jacobs, who was a rushing champ last year, it's going to be hard for him, and the Raiders O-line is not really that good at all either. So when they're stacking the box against you and your O-line's not that good and your quarterback is suspect, you're not really going to get too much from Josh Jacobs. So that's what I have to say about that.
Before we move on, I just wanted to address one of our YouTube comments as my brother Terry says, Shaun, pay your FD, LOL. That means Shaun, pay your FanDuel. And Terry wants to send that right after the Monday night. Like I owed him $5 for maybe 20 minutes since the Monday Night Football game ended, and he wants to try and get on the podcast that way by saying, Shaun, pay your FanDuel. So when one of you were talking, I Venmo'd him $5, and I said, suck me up. So there you go, Terry.
Wait, he has FanDuel? Where is he at?
He's here in Sacramento. We have a FanDuel group. We have a FanDuel group chat. Yeah. That's where Bob. That's how I met Bob. That's where Bob comes from.
Thought he was in a prime location.
Oh no. He's here in Orangeville. But anyways, for our audience who might have seen that YouTube comment, I just had to address it real quickly. So all right. Well, now it's Kevin's favorite moment of the show where we talk about his team being the Philadelphia Eagles. And so, Kevin, I'll just let you start us off here because, I mean, you got the most knowledge.
Oh, you want to go last, Kev? Sound like you want to go
last. Man, I'll go first. I'll start it off, man. Y'all ain't even got to say nothing, man. Kick back, kick your feet up, relax. I'm gonna take us through the storyline. So, Toddy gives me a call. Kevin, what's the parlay touchdown looking like? I said, he's like, Kevin, AJ ain't scored all year. It's got to happen tonight. It's got to happen tonight. They had the stuff on the sideline. It's got to happen tonight. I said, Toddy, take it easy, brother. We just want W's around here. We're like,
I did not bet on AJ.
All we do is eat W's.
Because he told me not to do it.
I told him not to do it. I said, Toddy, I like you having money, man. Don't do it. Bad bet. But let's break down this game. First 2 plays, 2 first downs to AJ Brown. Now, everyone on Twitter can calm down saying Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown aren't seeing eye to eye.
He told me to take the yards, though. He did say take the yards.
I'm telling you, Toddy, you said you called the expert, and that's who you called. You called me, and I delivered for you. But this defense, I said it weeks ago, best defense in the league. Toddy threw me in the group chat, the Stats Were Politics group chat, saying, y'all believe this? And the first 2 names that came up, the Niners and the Cowgirls. We can throw the Cowgirls away. Niners ain't playing nobody, so we can put them at a soft 2. But one is a hard reach. But Jalen Hurts is really coming to show that he is one of the guys. And,
Blue knows that you're woofing, Kevin. That's why he's talking, because he knows that you're woofing. Saying that the Niners haven't played anyone when the Eagles have played the Patriots and the Vikings and the Buccaneers, led by McCorkle Jones, Kirk Cousins, and Baker Mayfield. Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
So we're talking about be playing nobody. You play 2-glove Kenny. So, and you play Daniel Jones. So
I just think it's really ironic how you want to say that the 49ers haven't played anyone, but apparently the Eagles have.
Have you guys played anybody with a winning record?
Formidable team.
Yeah, the Steelers 2-1.
The Steelers were 0-0. You have not played a winning team. We played the Bucks. Everyone, Toddy reposted, man. All the undefeated teams. The Bucks supposed to be something. Everyone was talking about Baker's coming back. Oklahoma, Baker.
They got pushed
against
around.
Philly. You play that D-line, back to normal, back to being Baker. Toddy mentioned it. This D-line is going to be phenomenal. I was telling Lissa all game. I said, you see that, babe? Number 98, number 90, 3 years. Best two defensive tackles in the league. This defensive line duo is going to be insane. I don't know if you guys really peeped in. We saw a lot of Nolan Smith action tonight. Another Georgia dog. Nicholas Morrow stepped in for Nakobe Dean, getting a huge safety. Yes, you guys want to talk about the Jalen Hurts interceptions, so let's talk about them. The first one, Swift cut right. Jalen thought he was going left. We'll take it. Second interception, we're up 16 points. Throw that bitch deep. Let's make sure they're awake back there because everyone's saying we're not doing it. So we're to come out here and throw the ball. Jalen Hurts went out there and threw the ball. Final stats in the first half, throwing for 153 yards and 1 pick. For him to end the game with 23 of 37, 277 picks, and he should have finished with 3 touchdowns, but A.J. Brown just decided to leave his hands in the first half. Toddy, I was really hoping for that touchdown, but he every time he caught it, he dropped it. So
he was trying to score. You could see.
You can see.
He was trying to score.
But I cannot come on this podcast and not tell us that the real Kelsey Swift duo is in Philadelphia. Everyone's talking about the one in Kansas City. We saw Swift.
Amber
The
does.
Swifties need to come be on the Eagle side because we're seeing him jump over guys. Kenneth Gainwell's coming in and doing his thing. The real Kelsey Swift duo belongs in Philadelphia. This defense gave up 65 rushing yards. We have not given up 100 rushing yards yet. This defense last year, that's all we talked about was the rush defense, how we were getting busted up the run. We saw when we lost to the Commanders how he went in there and brought in Adamakin Sue and all these other D linemen to help fix that problem. We don't have that problem anymore. Sidney Brown, third-round draft pick, coming in there and breaking up a play with Mike Evans, that could have really changed the game. But for him to not give up and go in there and do that shows a lot. Everyone talks about how we lost Marcus Epps and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You know who we didn't lose? Reed fucking Blankenship. He missed last week, and he comes in. What does he do? Gets a pick, making plays all over the defense. This defense is one of the best in the league, and we continue to show it night in and night out. And for the second year in a row, the Philadelphia Eagles start off 3-0.
Well, we just lost a viewer, unfortunately, because of Kevin. Amber said that she's here for the Travis Kelce content, and Amber said, all right, I'm out. So anyways, Manny, let's toss it to you because I have a feeling that Anderson might be related to you, maybe. But what do you think just about this Eagles game on Monday Night Football?
I'm not super impressed. I expect them to win against the Bucs. Nowadays, when it comes to teams, it's either you got to have an elite team or an elite quarterback, one of the two. And the Bucs, I don't necessarily see either of them. Now, granted, the Eagles did come out with a pretty decent win. You know, they still turned the ball over, but their defense is phenomenal. I will say that. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're
Phenomenal.
They do have a good
Top five.
defense. Like,
Top five.
Not 4-3-2 or.
But they came out and did what they were supposed to do. I mean, it's the Bucs. We don't expect much. I mean, yeah, you had the hype from like, oh, Baker, you know, he did good the first
2-0
games and things like that, which he's not horrible, but he's also not a, you know, Patrick Mahomes or anything like that either. And so, I mean, they got to win. They got to win.
Okay, so Jaevon, I will never forget now the social clip that Kevin put out where you just started the clip saying Baker Mayfield. So, what do you think, Jaevon?
Baker did not play well in this game. Looked very pedestrian. No, he was former overall pick, Baker Mayfield, that is. But, you know, Mike Evans, they didn't really get him involved too much. I did have them on Hotline plus 5.5. It looked solid early in the game, just how they were kind of going back and forth, splitting field goals, and the Eagles kind of just took whatever lunch money that the Bucs had and ran with it. They were abusing them on the offensive line, getting pushed back. DeAndre Swift had another 100-plus yard rushing game. Kenneth Gainwell added to it as well. The Bucs D-line was getting pushed backwards pretty much the entire night. And on the defensive side, on the defensive line side, you see Fletcher Cox getting back there. See Jalen Carter making plays. After Jalen Hurts throws the pick at like the 2-yard line, then the very next play they get a safety. You want to know why? Because their D line was pushing the O line backwards, and it looked very. It was the Bucs just didn't really have. Baker really never had time because he was getting sacked, or whenever they tried to run the ball, it was going to be a tackle for loss. Because the guys were getting in the backfield. The D-line, O-line was just better. You had A.J. Brown. Batman was pretty much catching everything and doing whatever he could to score a touchdown. Devontae Smith didn't really do too much, but he didn't really have to because A.J. Brown was pretty much doing everything. I think he had 5 for 139, Kevin, if you want to quote me on that. Jalen Hurts, I feel like he can turn the ball 2 times against a Bucs team and them still be able to win and not really have to worry about, I can turn the ball over. If you kind of look at the turnovers, they weren't really like, damn, like they turned the ball over like on their side of the field, like it could have been points. It was more like a damn, when Jalen Hurts threw the pick, it was at the 2-yard line. So it was essentially like a punt that was pinned inside of their 2-yard line. And like I already mentioned, they ended up getting points off of that interception, which is insane to say. And even with the second turnover, or I think it was the first turnover, when he threw the ball to Swift, the next play, they got an interception. So, the Bucs, I don't think anybody really expected the Bucs to be a playoff team, but the way that they played in the first two games, it looked like they were a more formidable team. They're like a step above what the Cardinals are, pretty much. Like the Cardinals are a very feisty team. The Bucs are like I'd say a similar style type team, but I don't think either of us believe that any of those two teams are going to the playoffs. But yeah, Baker looked like Baker today, and I bet a bunch of people who picked him up in fantasy are like, "Damn, this is not the guy. This is not the guy."
Run.
Yeah, it was a good run for 2 weeks, but I thought they should have got Mike Evans involved a little bit more. I don't think they really got him involved. We only saw Chris Godwin have a couple of catches, but Kev will probably say, "Oh, they couldn't find him. You gonna want to know why? Because Slay was on him. He had him strapped. You couldn't see him. He had a cloak of invisibility on him." So, yeah, hats off to the Eagles. They look dominant tonight.
All right, Khalil, what did you think of this Monday Night Football game? Because it was the better of the two between the Rams and Bengals game and this one, at least on paper.
Again, they're a good team. You're not expecting much from the Buccaneers against the Eagles. I mean, they imposed their will on defense as we expected. Probably one of the top three defenses in the league. I'm not gonna say it's the top because
not
we all
2
know.
or 3. We heard you.
All right, and then what I was surprised about was the running back Swift. He wasn't getting utilized like that in Detroit, so to see him come out with a new team and constantly go over 100 the past 2 weeks, that's big time for them. Obviously, they have one of the best O lines, so not really surprising, I should say, that they beat the Bucs. The Bucs are just, like Toddy said, a step above the Cardinals. I mean, they have a good defense, but the offense is just pedestrian at best. So
the Buccaneers are who we thought they were, regardless of 2-0. Kevin, I don't want to hear anything about you guys beat a winning team. They are who we thought they were. And we'll leave it at that because Kevin and I will just go back and forth the whole time. So it's okay. It's only week 3. And since it is week 3, and that's it for the games that we're going to get to in detail here on episode number 52 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Den, Jaevon, Toddy, Khalil Alston, Manny Anderson. We appreciate you guys for joining us. Garry Singh is somewhere in the air between Nevada and California. He'll be back again with us next week. So now it's time to get to our quick NFL Week 3 recap where we talk about the rest of the games. And Amber, I hope you didn't go anywhere because the first game that we're going to talk about is the Chiefs beat the Bears 41-10. Going into this week, Patrick Mahomes, he restructured his contract. Now the annual value is much higher. And also Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift appear to be an item. So Manny, whether if you want to talk about Kelce and Swift or the game, what did you think of this?
I feel sorry for the Bears as an organization. I'm gonna just start there real quick.
I feel bad for Justin Fields.
Because when I look at Justin Fields, I honestly don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just think there's just bad coaching.
Running back.
Oh no!
Well, there goes Manny.
Hello.
Hello.
We still got you, Manny. We lost you for a second, but we still got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it comes down.
Running back.
And we're back. So I guess I'll take over for Manny.
Please do. Yeah. Let us hear about the inferior Kelce and Swift duo.
So just finishing Manny's sad story with the Chicago Bears 2023. I have been the president of the Justin Fields fan club, their number one supporter, Ohio State fan, and I'm stepping down. I'm turning in my badge. I've seen enough. I got him on my fantasy team. I believed in him. Toddy's talking about I'm trying to trade my running back, and he's talking about Justin Fields, and I just can't sit around and take this anymore. All offseason, I talked about how he was going to take this Jalen Hurts lead. He's getting his A.J. Brown. He's getting his Stephon Diggs. DJ Moore has 11 catches for 170 yards, 1 touchdown, and 15.5 yards a catch. He only has 15 targets on the season. Justin Fields, as a passer, threw 10 to 19 yards, 0 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 15 yards, 1 of 11, a 0.0 passing rating. The highest rating you get is 160, 20 plus yards in the air, 121.1 passer rating, which is very high, 2 passing touchdowns, 6 of 14, and 147 yards. This team has to figure it out. Their defensive coordinator just resigned, just said, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm out. This, like Shaun mentioned, this is just so dysfunctional. Seeing Justin Fields another opportunity, I would love to see him in, but right now in Chicago, like Toddy said, man, I'm turning in my badge. I can no longer be the president. So, Shaun, if you want to take over, I'll be co-president, but I can't keep putting my name to this, man.
You know, until I see Justin Fields on a different team not playing well, I refuse to give up on him. I absolutely refuse. And so until
gotta let that go, Shaun. Gotta let that go.
You know what you should let go of is Justin Fields on your fantasy team. I got Vanilla Vic for you. It's okay. You can rethink it. Anyways, we'll move on to the next game. AKA Daniel Jones, who is better than Kenny Pickett. There you go. So the Chargers, they beat the Vikings 28-24, and the news leading into the week is that excuse me, I put that on the wrong. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Speaking out loud. Cam Akers, he was traded to the Vikings for a swap of 2026 draft picks for a conditional 6th, for a conditional 7th with the LA Rams. Got the LA teams mixed up for a second. And the sad news from this Vikings game is that for the Chargers, Mike Williams, their wide receiver, tore his ACL against the Vikings. And so, Khalil, what did you think about this? Because the Vikings are in your division, and they seem to be the team that is going to compete with the Packers and Lions for the division crown, but maybe not this year.
The Vikings, like what I like to say, but it's not. I expect this out of the Vikings. They're just the Vikings in our division. I mean, I felt like because Aaron Rodgers is gone, they thought they were going to run the division. I see right through that. Last year they won how many games? Like 13, but most of them were all come back from behind wins. They're not a complete team yet. Their offense is sometimes pedestrian. They have one of the best receivers in the league, and yet still continuously lose games. He's going over 100 yards like every game so far this year, and haven't won a game. And as for the Vikings, Chargers. My bad. As for the Chargers, they needed this win. They almost lost it at the end, which I completely do not understand his thought process in this. I feel like that their coach, he probably has to go. Taking too many risks. I feel like you have an elite quarterback that might bail you out sometimes, but it's not always going to work out that way, especially since their top receiver went down. One of their top receivers, Keenan Allen, stood over there. One of their top receivers went down. They're going to have to figure some things out with their coaching.
So, Jaevon, the Colts, they beat the Ravens 22-19 in overtime.
Yeah, Minshew, he kind of went in there and shocked the world for the most part. The weather kind of played a role in this game a little bit. Zay Flower was kind of the leading receiver. No Odell in this game. No one in the world picked the Indianapolis Colts to win. I know I didn't. I didn't bet that game at all because the Ravens were like minus 400 favorites, so it just didn't make sense for me. But I don't know. It was a very weird game. I thought Lamar would kind of came out, kind of pissed off and just, kind of go on a tear that he's kind of been on. I thought he's been playing well up until yesterday. This kind of says a lot about the Colts. The Colts they have a very underrated defense. I think their D-line is solid. Their linebacking core is solid. Back seven could be a little bit better, but I feel like if you have a solid D-line, your back seven doesn't have to be as legit. And, I mean, they're on a 2-game winning streak. They put up 38 points last week with Gardner Minshew. I think we have to start talking about who's winning the AFC South, because are we sure that the Jags are going to win it now? Because the Jags have looked kind of pedestrian these last 2 weeks. Very suspect. And I think the Colts are 2-1. Houston is, people are saying that they think CJ Stroud is putting up numbers that Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. I think in like the first like couple of years, he's thrown like in like the first 3 games of their career, they've thrown for like 900 yards plus. I think the stat was the list was like Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, just a bunch of great quarterbacks, pretty much. And I think they have a very formidable coach in D'Amico Ryans, former 49er defensive coordinator, by the way. And they've been looking very good. Nico Collins has been a guy that has been killing in fantasy, I guess. I don't know where the hell he came from, but he has been going insane. He's been playing like a top receiver if you kind of look at his numbers. So, CJ Stroud, man, I don't even think he's thrown a pick, if I'm not mistaken. He might have thrown maybe one or two, but I could be wrong. But he has not been turning. He's been very accurate. He's throwing for a lot of yards, and he's not turning the ball over. And that's everything you can ask for in a quarterback.
So just for our audio-only listeners, Kevin had to step out for a moment just to take a call, and I think he's actually coming back right now. So we'll see him soon. But I want to talk about this next game real quickly myself, because our guy Evan, who was in the YouTube comments earlier, he was talking about something completely different, but he said that was an atrocity. And I know he wasn't talking about the game I'm about to talk about, but this game that I'm about to talk about, Evan, that was an atrocity as the Browns beat the Titans 27-3. The Browns, who looked so dysfunctional against the Steelers on Monday night, they somehow come in and beat the brakes off of the Titans, who were supposed to be a contender, at least. Titans could have been in that conversation for the AFC South, at least. Not if you can't beat the Browns and you lose to the Browns 27-3. So shout out to Evan, because that was an atrocity.
Never back with Titans ever again.
Yeah, the defense is better than you think. The Browns defense.
Top 5. I think they're in that top 5.
So the Patriots, they beat the Jets 15-10. What did you think, Manny?
Rock fight.
It's a battle of the worst of the worst. I mean, it's one of those picky poisons. It's just unfortunate for the Jets. I know we keep talking about it with Aaron Rodgers' loss, because I think they could have been a real good contender. But now that they have Zach Wilson, it's just he is what he is, at the end of the day. And so with those 2 games, I'm be completely honest, it's one of those games where it's like, whoever wins. Is it going to matter? Are any of these teams? Do you see any of these teams happen to be in the playoffs? No. So
at the beginning of the year, I had the other team.
At the beginning of the year, yeah, you can say like, hey, the Jets are going to make the playoffs. But now that A-Rod's gone, you got Zach Wilson. Do you expect them to do anything? No. So, yeah.
All right. And so the Bills, they beat the Commanders 37-3. It was not even close. So, Khalil, what do you think about that matchup?
They did what they were supposed to do. They beat a bad team. The Commanders got Chase Young back, so they got their defensive star back. So they did what they were supposed to do in that game, to dominate a lesser opponent. So it's not surprising, and finally showed what Josh Allen's supposed to do, not what he did week 1. Yeah.
Well, Khalil, I'm going to toss it back to you for this next game, because the Lions, they beat the Falcons by a score of 20-6. And the reason why I'm tossing it back to Khalil is because that's his division, being the NFC North, and I picked the Lions to win the NFC North. But Khalil, tell me why I'm wrong.
I've been saying this. Lions haven't been to the playoffs since 93, and they're looking very motivated to make the playoffs. So they might make the playoffs, but I'm not saying that they're going to beat my Packers.
Lions travel to Lambeau on Thursday night, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that they're due for a playoff run, but Jared Goff's been playing well. Their defense has been playing well. So, hey, they look good. They look good. I'll give them that.
Khalil, just to correct you real quick, I think you meant to say that they haven't won the division since 1993 because they've made the playoffs in recent years.
Oh, yeah.
Back in 2011, 2014, 2016, they did have that streak of not making it for 12 years. Exactly. Yeah, I was thinking back to the Matthew Stafford years that he made the playoffs at least a couple times. But anyways, the point being that I asked Khalil about winning the division, and that's something that the Lions haven't done in 30 years. So we'll see if they can actually do that this year. And you know what? I'm not going to I could have done the order better on this, but anyways, Khalil, I'm not going to have you talk about your team. Manny, I want to hear about this. The Packers beat the Saints 18-17.
It was, I will give credit to Jordan Love, just because the Saints aren't a horrible defense. They don't have a horrible defense. The Saints
They have a really good defense.
Typically been known for at least a better defensive teams. But will I say like, oh, Jordan Love is he came back against the Saints. I mean, who do the Saints necessarily have at least on the offensive side to where they can actually put up points? I mean, granted, Derek Carr got knocked out. Getting hurt. Yep. He ended up getting hurt, but I also am not super excited about them.
Thanks for the Seahawks.
Don't do that. Don't do that. We're not doing that. But it was a formidable win. They got their new quarterback in Jordan Love. Playing at home, so you had the crowd on your side. And for them to come back and get a W, give credit where credit's due.
No Aaron
Jones. Kevin.
I'm salty about that.
Go ahead.
No Aaron Jones. No Jair Alexander. No Christian
Watson.
We did that without our star players. I'm not saying that
they come back,
but I'm not saying like we should. It would have been more. It would probably have been a closer game, but we didn't play all 4 quarters. We played 1 quarter, 4th quarter.
Are those guys coming back Thursday? Do you know?
Huh?
Do you know if Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, Jair come back on Thursday?
They said the report said that Aaron Jones was supposed to play Sunday, but they didn't want to play because we had a short week, so they didn't want to overexert him. So I expect Aaron Jones to be back. As for Christian Watson, I don't know what's going on.
He ain't even been practicing. Yeah.
Yeah, I got him on my fantasy team, and it has been a huge disappointment every week because it's like, oh, he might play. Just kidding. He's out, and we're going to not make that decision until 9 a.m. on Sunday. So I have to wait every single week to try and make a move with that guy. So that's
Can I just say something about the Saints real quick? Because I'm a Saints fan. I haven't gone to the NFC Championship game. I think there's a lot of Saints slander on here. They came out and jumped to a 17-0 lead. They were looking good. Got a punt return for a touchdown. I thought their offense looked all right going into it. Manny said they don't really have anybody on offense. Alvin Kamara just got freed from his 3-game suspension, so he will be coming back and have something to say about that. They have Chris Olave, who I think is a top young receiver in this league. And they have Slant Boy, by the way, who is once upon a time was a top 5 receiver. So I think their offense is very formidable. It's just when you have a guy in Jameis Winston throwing them the ball, you're going to look very pedestrian, and eating W's is not going to come as easier as it looks. So they're up 17-0, I think at half, and then going into the third, and then once Carr freaking sprained his AC joint, they couldn't do anything, and Jay Boo was out there doing God knows what, looking like a deer in headlights. So your offense is going to look like that when Jameis Winston is your quarterback. So just want to say that on Saints.
So for those who don't know, Kevin is the president of the Dougie P fan club, but Dougie P had a rough Sunday as the Texans beat the Jaguars 37-17. So what do you think, KD? Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. It's been sad to watch, man. I was all on them. I was all on the hype train last year to see them come back in the Chargers playoff game last year. And you were expecting them to only get better with the addition of Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, besides that first game, has been really pedestrian. Christian Kirk has been coming up big for him. Evan Ingram's been coming up big for him. Zay Jones. Tank Bigsby, I think, is going to be a really great running back. I think that running back room is going to be phenomenal. But I really wanted to get on here and talk about my man Coleridge Bernard Stroud, offensive rookie of the year. He hasn't thrown a single interception all season. 20 of 30, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is coming to play. DeMarco Ryan picked the right guy to start off his franchise. We can see DeMarco running up and down the field, getting this team energized. This team is not the same Texans team from old. Bringing in Tank Dell, who no one thought he was going to have this kind of impact. We saw him do it at the college level, but no one thought it was going to be able to translate. But for him to go for 5, for the audio-only listeners, we have Shaun ripping away the OHIO for all of you guys. But for him to go in there with 145 yards and 1 touchdown, Tank Dell is going to continue to get better, and this offense is only going to get better with a young running back like Damon Pierce. This offense has a lot of weapons. I'm a big Dalton Schultz fan. You know, Shaun's a Stanford guy, so I'm a bit following him a lot of love. But I think this Texas team is going to be good. And, you know, C.J. Stroud was the best quarterback on the field on Sunday.
That says a lot. How good is this?
Did you notice how Kevin didn't want to acknowledge that Dalton Schultz was a former Cowboy?
Yeah.
We skip over that in people's careers.
Yeah.
Sad time for them.
It's starting to come out, and like a lot of people were starting to shit on that 2021 QB draft and how good it actually was. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence.
Generational talent, Trevor Lawrence.
So he's not a lot of people aren't really coming for his head as they are for Zach Wilson, although he does look suspect and probably shouldn't be playing. Trey Lance, we haven't really even seen play. Mac, who was a Pro Bowler, that could be, you could take that how that is and what that might look like.
Needs receiver.
And then, you know, Trevor Lawrence is a guy that has to play better, you know, former number 1 overall pick. They're saying that he's going to take a leap this year, next year. He's won a playoff game. That might just be Brandon Staley is the worst NFL coach in the league. He did throw 4 picks in that game, by the way. And then, you know, the next week it took a Patrick Mahomes injury for them to almost win another playoff game. So coming out into next year and kind of just like almost shitting the bed and just, you know, not playing well in several games, not really being able to move the ball, scoring 6 points in one game, and then only scoring how many points did they score this last game? They haven't really been able to score that much. And when you have a guy in Calvin Ridley who's a guy who can get open at will and he's not really getting the ball, it's kind of showing a lot. And, you know, Dougie P is an offensive-minded coach, and, you know, he wants to scheme these guys open, but it's up to Trevor Lawrence to be able to get these guys the ball. And I don't think he's been doing a very good job of that in these past 3 weeks. Now, as Shaun already said, it's only week 3, so maybe we'll see a lot of movement from now until the end of the season. But right now, they're in like last place in the division, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the Colts are in first, which is a shocker. I don't think anybody would have said that after 3 weeks that the Colts would be number 1 in the division. So the AFC South, like I said, is kind of up for grabs, and we saw that C.J. Stroud. He was a better quarterback on Sunday.
And just because the name McCorkle was mentioned, did you guys see what he did to Sauce Gardner? Like, that is just has any of you Toddy, you saw it, Manny, Khalil, have you seen what happened? Just look it up. Just look up Mac Sauce on Twitter or
Mac
X.
Sauce.
You'll find it.
Oh,
Mac Sauce.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, man. So basically, Khalil, and for our audio-only listeners, and even everyone on YouTube, Twitch, and X, Mac Jones, dirtiest player in the game. I guess we could start calling him Triple H or Ric Flair, because he is the dirtiest player in the NFL. Has to be. Like
Grayson Allen?
The Grayson Allen of the NFL. What reason do you have to stand up and grab another man by the junk and like not just cup it, but like firmly just try to just rip that shit off? Like, bro, you are disrespectful.
Yeah, that's
like
an egg
on so many levels. Like, I mean, it would have been detrimental to Sauce, and for every cause there's an effect. And I know that Sauce is smart enough to not engage when Mac was trying to get in his head or whatever. You don't do that fucking shit. And when I saw it, it just made me so mad because what makes you think that you can disrespect another man like that? Like, just goes beyond every. I just had to mention that because
Patriots put up 15 points, but not that good.
it just made me so upset because if they weren't on that football field, Mac would have had his ass laid out, and that's it.
Yeah.
And all right, so Manny, I'm gonna toss it back to you because the Seahawks, they beat the Panthers 37-27, led by the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton.
No, I'm excited that we got a W. I think it was a sloppy W.
It was.
But you take it how you can get it. You know, you at least at the end of the day, you know, you walked out with the W. But I will say this.
Who's your other running back?
Kenneth Walker.
No, the other dude.
Zach Charbonnet.
He was going crazy.
Yeah, no, he did phenomenal. Like I'm glad we have two running backs because that's the staple for the Seahawks of having solid running backs and being able to run the ball, which is huge important because it takes the stress and pressure off of having to always throw the ball and off the QB. But hey, we got the W on the back end on the defensive side. We got to get more of a pass rush going. I think our D-line is okay, but we need to get to the quarterback. We need to get to the quarterback. But we got the W, so that's what matters.
Yeah,
if you win the sloppy ones, that's what matters.
DK went off.
I played against him in fantasy. He went nuts.
Yeah.
And for everyone who is listening via audio, our friend Garry has made it home safely as he has joined the YouTube chat because I told him that we all said that the Steelers were not for real, and so he wanted fresh off of the flight. He might still be sitting in the airplane waiting to deboard. He said, a W, y'all. Steeler Nation took over Las Vegas, and oh, Lord, here he is again. FYI, we number one in the AFC North.
They're tied. They're tied, yes, with the Cleveland Browns.
Put that little asterisk on there because you guys aren't undefeated because the 49ers handed you your fucking ass in week 1. So there's that. Finally, Kevin, the Bengals beat the Rams 19-16 on Monday Night Football, and Joe Burrow, he played with a messed up calf again. Did we lose Kevin? I see Kevin's frozen on my screen. Toddy, how about that? Bengals.
So, I mean, we kind of saw Joe Burrow hurt a little bit. I wouldn't say a little bit, actually a lot. He wasn't really able to move as much, not really able to throw the ball that much downfield. We saw some flashes here and there. Getting Jamar Chase involved finally, for the love of God, these past couple of weeks, Jamar has been invisible, I guess, because they weren't really able to get him the ball. But once you saw that, he almost put up, I think, the record for receptions or receiving yards in Monday Night history this past night. But I think if Joe Burrow doesn't play this game, they lose. So he definitely did play a big role in him just being out there. And they were actually able to run the ball. That's kind of been the common thing of this podcast, I think. I feel like if you're able to run the ball, you're going to be able to win games, and Joe Mixon had a hell of a game tonight. Matt Stafford had a really bad throw over the middle. He tried to do like a little sidearm, kind of, and Garry, for audio only, says haters, as they are tied for number one in the AFC North as of right now. The Steelers are. But going back to Matt Stafford, he had a really bad throw over the middle. They ended up turning the ball over for them. And I feel like that was kind of the game. The Steelers, or not Steelers, the Bengals were able to win the turnover battle, and kind of Joe Burrow was pretty much able to manage his way to a victory. And that's not really Joe Burrow's style. His style is more, I'm going to sling the ball down the field and kind of, more air raid. Tonight he was kind of more dink and duck, crossing routes, looking more over the middle and running the ball, and then using that to get the play action involved as well. So it was a little bit more of a different game plan for Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow and the Bengals tonight, but their defense was able to win the turnover battle, get stops, and they were able to run the ball, and Joe Mixon was able to run the ball very effectively for them. And that ultimately ended up getting their first victory. And I picked the Rams because I didn't know if Joe Burrow was going to play or not. He ended up playing, and I ended up being wrong.
It's okay. We know it was a week, or not a week, rough week for the hotline, and we'll get to Vonny's hotline a little bit later. But before we get to our favorite 2 recurring segments, it's time to talk about college football, week 3. As it was an interesting week in college football. Is it week 3 or week 4? I think it might be week
4. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Toddy. And so as I correct that on our ticker, there were 3 prominent games, in my opinion, this past weekend. Starting off with the matchup of top 10 teams between the Ohio State Buckeyes playing at Notre Dame, and the Buckeyes, they won 17-14. As Kevin looks like he needs to pay his Wi-Fi bill because it's giving him some struggles right now. Anyways, I am the bias without Kevin here, and he'll be back very soon. But I am the biased one on this panel when it comes to this game being Ohio State and Notre Dame. And so, Manny, if you got a chance to check out this game, what did you think? Is it more so about Notre Dame playing with 10 players on the final 2 plays of the game when they're trying to stop the game-winning drive? Like, what was your takeaway from the first game that we're going to get to in college football?
Just to speak on that part, that is so frustrating to lose in that way, because it's not that Ohio State just beat you, it's that you beat yourself. And so you're going to always look back at that as like, oh, we lost that one. Not that they beat you, is that they just lost it because they didn't have that extra play there. Because I'm like, yo, what's going on here? Why is this just the open gap just sitting here? Yeah, we're going to run the ball right at that. But from watching it, it was very physical. Like me, I'm a defensive guy. You know, I like to hit. And from watching it, it was just a very physical game, which was exciting for me. And it just showed up front that Notre Dame, they were there. Their front 7, they were ready to bring it. But shout out to Rico, Sacramento native. He got his first touchdown freshman.
Should have went to Ohio State. He would have won.
I think he had an offer at Ohio State too.
He did, and that's why I am bitter. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Manny.
Yeah, but you know, hey, Ohio State, they got the W, but it's more so from Notre Dame's being dummies, and I know that player got chewed out in the locker room. Oh man, that player that was supposed to be on that field at that time. Oh yeah, he got an earful for sure.
And Toddy, before I toss it over to you to get your thoughts on this game, because our friend Garry is active in the comments, and we want to make it feel like he's here. He said Ohio escaped.
They did.
Keep in mind, gentlemen, that 6 minutes before Garry said Ohio escaped, he's the same guy who said a W, y'all. But Ohio escaped. So, do you think that Ohio escaped, Jaevon?
Absolutely. I think the game was very evenly matched. If you kind of just look at the front seven to front 7, the D line. I feel like Ohio State. Notre Dame's O-line is probably the best O-line in the country. If you just look at it, they were able to run the ball pretty much whenever they wanted to, for the most part. Sam Hartman played okay. I thought he could have played a little bit better. When they ended up going for it on 4th down early in the game and not getting the first down, I feel like that changed a little bit of the momentum that they had, because the first drive for them to start the game, they were pretty much just getting whatever that they wanted. Play action, they were running the ball, they were getting pretty much whatever matchup that they wanted, and they were driving down the field. They could have ended with 3 points, but I think Freeman wanted to kind of punch the ball in the end zone. They ended up not being able to do that. It was a very low-scoring game. I thought it would have been a little bit more high-scoring. A lot of people are going to say, oh, Kyle McCord, he's for real. He played okay. I feel like he had a good final drive. He didn't throw any touchdowns. He went like 20. He threw the ball like 40 times. I think he completed it like almost 58, 59% of his passes. There was a point in time when they went for it on 4th and 1, and they ran a jet sweep, didn't get it, and I thought that was the game right there. But there was a little bit more time on the clock than I would have liked. There was like 4 minutes and 30 seconds left, and Ohio State ended up getting the ball back. They convert. There was like 4 things that went so right for Ohio State on that last drive. They convert on 4th and 7. They they convert on 3rd and 19 after an intentional grounding call was called on Kyle McCord, like very late into the game. The Notre Dame has 10 guys on the last play of the game. First of all, they stopped them the first time that they had, because there was 2 plays that they had 10 guys on the field. They couldn't call timeout. Freeman said at the end of the game, the head coach for Notre Dame, he said that they knew that they had 10 players out on the field, but he didn't want to sub anybody in because he didn't want to get a penalty. So I'm like, the ball's on the 1 yard line. What's the penalty going to do? Like, they're going to move the ball literally 10 inches more. So I knew once there was 3 seconds left on the clock and they're at the 1 inch yard line, I'm like, they only have time for 1 play, so they're probably going to run it. I would have sent everybody. When I tell you everybody, I'm going to run commit for all of my Madden players. I'm running commit middle. That's the ball is going. They're going to run the ball, and they ran from the shotgun too, which was insane. So, I mean, hats off to Notre Dame. They survived another game. This was definitely one of their tough teams on their schedule. I think they have Penn State. You guys play Penn State on the road or at home? Do you know, Shaun? I'm not sure.
Not off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
But they have. Those are the only other 2 games that they really have to worry about. Is Penn State and Michigan, obviously. But this was a very good game. It kind of came down to the wire. Like Manny said earlier in the show, shout out to Rico Flores. I think he's going to start to get a little bit more tick. He made some really key catches laid down the stretch, and obviously the touchdown for Notre Dame. But Notre Dame has to get those stops, man. And they almost had an interception that was dropped on that drive as well. So, yes, they play Penn State at home, so that'll be an advantage for them. But I think they jumped into the top 4, if I'm not mistaken, now. So they're in playoff contention now. USC is out of playoff contention. Or as of
really?
We never were. I think we're like 6th or 7th now, because we played bad against Arizona State, but we still won. Put up 42 points, but on the road, fell asleep at the wheel. Is what it is.
Shout out to Cameron Scatabo from Rio Linda, who went absolutely
He's trying to
nuts.
get drafted, bro. I'm telling you, for real.
We talked about him in our Stats Over Politics Fantasy Football League group chat. It hurts my heart to see him leave Sacramento, but I understand you got to go where the opportunities are at. And
he might get drafted.
As long as he gets to the league, that's all that matters.
What matters.
And so, Khalil, we're going to get to your squad next, being the Ducks. But what did you think about the Ohio State Buckeyes beating Notre Dame?
That was a big win. That probably is going to, give them an extra boost in the rankings with the committee. But shout out Rico Flores. That was potentially a game-winning touchdown. Supposed to be, had they had all 11 guys, in the game. But it was a big win for Ohio State. They needed that. They only have 2 big games left that we all need to be on the lookout for. Maybe they can get over the hump this year with Michigan, hopefully. But big win.
They'll be Penn State probably.
Most definitely. And the reason why a lot of people need to tune in on X, YouTube, or Twitch is you need to be able to see the video component. You could see my office here in Woodland in the background of this week's episode, but also so you could see this glorious notepad as I continue to waste paper and just say, I lost grip of the paper.
There we go.
OHIO. Buckeyes are going to make the playoff.
They survived on Saturday.
I'd love to say that Ohio State's going to win it all this year, but one thing I am certain of is that they will beat the team up north. They will beat the team up north. We'll see what happens after that.
Game at the Big House this year?
No, it was at the Big House last year, I think.
I don't think so.
Was it? No. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right, Toddy. Yeah, because They beat Ohio State now 2 years in a row. It took them 20 years to get a win, and now they've won back-to-back games. And so, Toddy, you
It's
were
at
right.
the crib, as the kids say.
Yep, and it's at the big house. It's at the big house for Michigan.
You guys caught the Jim Harbaugh interview. Just go check it out. He's freaking hilarious. I love Coach.
Yeah, and shout out to my friend Keith, who was supposed to join us tonight because he is also a Michigan fan. And throughout Jim Harbaugh's entire suspension, he just kept saying, "Oh, look how good we look without Harbaugh, and they're trying to take us down, and this and that." Bro, it's a self-imposed suspension.
They trying to get us.
They're trying to get us.
Us against the world, just like Ryan Day after the Notre Dame game went after
that
Lou
was
Holtz.
hilarious.
Ryan went after old man Holtz, and he just said, "Ohio against the world." And who knows, maybe Marcus Freeman didn't want to play with 11 guys at the end of that game, because let's not forget where he graduated from, the Ohio State University.
He threw the game. Okay, Shaun. That's what happened.
Thank you, Marcus. We appreciate it. One game that certainly was not thrown is Oregon defeating Colorado 42-6.
Damn.
I wasn't necessarily convinced that Colorado would win, but I thought for sure that they would at least cover the spread, because there was a 21-point spread. Oregon was favored by 21 points going into this game, and I just thought, man, that is easy money. Take it all day, every day. I played golf on Saturday with my brothers, and my brother Terry said to me before the game started, he's like, "Man, I think I'm going to regret not putting money on that spread, because they're giving 21 points to Colorado and Dion." Well, Toddy, as you know best, that's exactly why you don't think that you're going to outsmart Vegas, because Vegas knows what they're doing. And they suckered in so many people. Toddy, I'm sorry if you were one of them. But anyways, Oregon, Khalil's team for a long time, has defeated Colorado 42-6. And so, Khalil, you got the floor. What did you think of this game?
It was surprising.
You were surprised?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an Oregon fan, but I was going for Dion in prime time.
Yeah.
But if Travis Hunter plays, I feel like it's a totally different ball game. I don't think they get blown out per se. They probably still lose the game, but they don't get blown out, because they also have to worry about and account for Travis Hunter. That is a generational talent. You literally have to worry about where he is at all times on the field. He's making plays on defense. He's making plays on offense. He's doing everything to get the team to win. So I was surprised by this loss, losing by so much with Shador. It's Shador time now. Hold it, but I was surprised, but not really surprised. Oregon is still one of the top teams in the Pac-12. I'm not gonna say in the nation, because but they're top in the Pac-12 for a reason, and they went out and showed Dion that you need some more recruits. Make it less harder to find you, Dion. You need more.
And I just wanted to say for all of our listeners that Kevin didn't go to bed, as Uncle Manny may think that he went to bed, but no, unfortunately, one problem of living in the Pacific Northwest is it rains a lot. And as Kevin told us, today is day one of 2 straight weeks of rain, and that's what has affected his Wi-Fi connection tonight. So Kevin will not be joining us for the rest of the night. We will see him next week. But Manny, what did you think about this game? Because Colorado, they were on a high after these first 3 games, but they definitely got humbled in this one.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they lost. I'm more so surprised about how badly it looked.
It was
at the end of the day, Prime said it himself. He's about 7 to 8 guys away, and really what he's talking about is that front 7. The front 7 is really where it matters most in the trenches. You need that is where you truly need a 5-star lineman. That's where the stars really come into play, because The front seven in the trenches, that's where it matters the most. And if you can't buy time for your quarterback to get the ball off, if you can't run the ball, if you can't stop the opposing team from running the ball, because they were able to just push them around. Like, you can see guys on the D-line for Colorado being 5 yards, sitting back where the linebackers are at. And it's like, bro, you are not supposed to be move, okay? Yeah. So when you see that going on and your running backs don't get touched until they're already in the secondary, you're going to have some issues. You're going to have some troubles all day. And so am I surprised by the loss? Not necessarily. It's just more so a matter of how badly they lost.
Toddy, what did you think? And did you have money on this one?
Absolutely. This was part of the hotline. Kind of shocked that they got did in 42-6 was the final score. That live line kept moving up. It was at 28, and it was at 35, and it was at 40, and it was like, that line kept moving up and up and up, and Vegas kept on taking a bunch of people's money on Saturday. But just to go back to it, Dion even said in his post-game press release, he's like, you got to get me now, because this is probably the worst that I'll be. So you better get your licks in right now, because it's virtually impossible to turn a roster over from literally winning one game last year to, I'm going to win the Pac-12 championship next year. Like, I don't think that's kind of how it works.
In the best year of the Pac-12 that they've had in decades, probably in the last year of the Pac-12. RIP.
The Pac-12 is probably right now the best conference in football, and that's saying a lot. From what we've been seeing from the SEC, it has been very, I wouldn't say pedestrian, it's been very abnormal. I think the quarterback play is a lot better than the Pac-12 than it is in the SEC right now. You kind of just look at Oregon's team and just where they're at as a program. Let's not forget Oregon did get blown out by like 50 points last year against Georgia. So, when you see the coach for Oregon, Dan Lanning talking about he's playing for clicks and likes and all this, I think everyone's just trying to take a shot at Dion just because not everyone's accustomed to what he's doing, and he's literally changing the culture. He's sold out like all the home games this year, and I don't think that's happened in like the past 20, 25 years. It's the prime effect. So a lot of people are going to feel some type of way about what he's doing and how he's doing it and how quickly that he's doing it. So with the transfer portal, me and Manny kind of talked a little bit back and forth about just how much bigger, faster, stronger that Oregon is right now, but how long did it take for them to kind of build that back up? And Oregon has always kind of been a powerhouse program, even since Chip Kelly, Marcus Mariota. It's been a prime location for people that want to go to when you see the Nike, Phil Knight, this, that, and the third. So Colorado's kind of coming from nothing, and Dion's trying to build that nothing into something. And, he's trying to take his luggage and he's trying to make it Louis. And, they kind of just went up a better opponent last week. And now things don't get easier because you got USC coming to Boulder on Saturday, and they are 21 and a half point favorites. Oregon put up 42 points. We might as well put up 50 on y'all. So the offense is a lot more potent than Oregon's offense, I think. Caleb Williams, former Heisman Trophy winner, trying to win a second. I've even said in the past that I don't think Caleb's going to win the Heisman again because I think it's only been done since like the 1940s. But I think this offense that's coming to Boulder on Saturday is going to be very legit. It's going to be like a whoa foul. We're a lot faster, nimble. We get to the ball quick. Like we score quick, fast, in a hurry. So we'll score in 2 plays. But I just think that, a lot of people that are kind of shitting on Dion, like they're already better than they were last year. Like if they don't win any more games for the entire year, they were better than they were last year. So I think there's a lot to be excited about, but I just think that a lot of people kind of have to get back into reality because of the teams that they beat. Like I thought the one against TCU was formidable. Nebraska, you can kind of scratch your head out a little bit. And the Colorado State game, you're like, all right, it's Colorado State. Like, we get it. But it was more of the storyline that a lot of people were focused in on, it being personal, the shades and the coach talking about, when I talked to my mom, this, that, and the third, it was more like, the storyline that people were kind of focused in on. But then when they played against Oregon, it was more like, all right, like, let's see what you look like against Oregon. And, I didn't think that Dion was going to get blown out by 21 points on the road. But, I mean, that's just how it's going to go when you play against these top teams in the country. When you play, Oregon is a top, like, 5 team, top 10 team in the country. So, I mean, that's the standard. That's what it's going to look like. So, I feel like Dion's team is going to look something similar to that in the next couple of years because I believe in Coach Prime and his ability to recruit this, that, and the third. So, like just O-line, D-line, the D-line and O-line was getting pushed back. It looked like, big brother versus little brother on Saturday.
Certainly did. And Jaevon, you were saying how it's been almost 40 years, actually over 40 years, almost 50 years since there was the one and only back-to-back Heisman winner. And this isn't Shaun's pop quiz or anything. However, do any of you guys have any idea who is the only guy to ever win the Heisman Trophy in back-to-back years?
Can you say what school he went to? Yeah, go ahead.
I got you, Toddy.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I was going to say. I'll even tell you the position. He was a running back from the Ohio State University.
Y.A. Tittle.
No, Y.A. Tittle's a quarterback, wasn't he?
That's right. Yeah, he's a quarterback.
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown, no. So it was Archie Griffin. Did it back in 1974 and 1975, and it has never, ever been done again. So we shall see if Caleb can make history and do something that hasn't been done in almost 50 years. As here we are in episode number 52 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon Toddy, Manny Anderson, and Khalil Alston. We appreciate both you gentlemen for joining us as we got 2 quick segments to get through before we get ourselves out of here. We're going to get to Vonny's hotline to cap things off this week. It was a rough week for the hotline, but he's still above 500, and that's all that matters.
Very rough.
So, unfortunately, this isn't Shaun's pop quiz, so this is not my segment, but due to the rain, I have to do my best Kevin impression, and so everyone bear with me because this ain't my segment. But anyways, gentlemen, it's time for Factor Cap. And I wish I could play our lovely instrumental music in the background, but TikTok be hating on us. So here we are. We're going to keep it without any music. We got 2 questions for Factor Cap this week, Manny and Khalil. So we're going to kick things off with the Panthers, who were the team that Manny's team defeated this week. And part of the reason, I mean, I'm not even going to be a hater. They likely still would have beaten the Panthers even if Bryce Young played, but Bryce Young didn't play. And so the question that Kevin came up with this week is the Panthers picked the wrong QB at number 1 overall in April. So, Manny, Factor Cap, the Panthers picked the wrong quarterback at number 1 overall back in April.
Geez, this is a tough one. This is a good one.
Yeah, because CJ Stroud's still out there.
Yeah, exactly. And you hate to compare it to that just because of the numbers that CJ's been able to put up. Geez, I'm going to have to, for now, I'm going to have to go with fact. If we're looking at just numbers and statistics, CJ's been putting up phenomenal numbers. He's been getting some W's compared to Bryce Young. So I'm gonna have to go with they picked the wrong QB.
All right, Khalil, Factor Cap. The Panthers picked the wrong quarterback at number 1 overall in April.
I'll say Cap. The Panthers are just so horrible. They're just horrible. I mean, he doesn't really have any weapons. You could say they got Miles Sanders, but he's looked pedestrian at best. Adam Thielen, same thing. Like, he has weapons, yes, but the O-line is just so horrible. Every time he drops back, there's someone in his face somewhere. Like, we're expecting him to be the Alabama Bryce Young, but it takes time. It's a speed thing. He played in the best conference in all of college football, but speed thing. These guys are faster. Just be honest. These guys are probably just faster, and he's still a top dog. He won a Heisman for a reason. It's a learning curve. He's gonna get it. And just these guys just need to protect him. He'll get you there.
Toddy, factor cap. The Panthers picked the wrong quarterback at number 1 overall in April.
I'm gonna say cap. The Panthers team is dog shit. Like if you look at their team, like it's not good. Like if their receivers, like who is he throwing the ball to? Oh, it's Adam Thielen. Like if this was 5 years ago, this would be a different story. But
old man Thielen.
Like it's not like who is he throwing the ball to? His O-line is garbage. Defense is they can't. His defense is okay. Like I think the front seven is solid, but J.C. Horn's out, so he's hurt. But I just feel like the team, like what he has surrounded around him, is not formidable. But you can kind of say the same thing about Houston. Like how good is Houston's defense? Who would C.J. Stroud be throwing the ball to? But C.J. has been putting up tremendous numbers. And that's what the defensive coach, Frank Wright, is an offensive-minded coach and hasn't really been able to do too much with Bryce Young. Now Bryce Young is undersized, but, CJ has, he has the height advantage. He was very accurate kind of coming out. That was kind of the thing that a lot of people were saying about him. He's the best pure thrower was kind of the thing that I was hearing. I think Anthony Richardson has looked phenomenal in the short time that we've seen him. Now he has been running the ball a lot, and that's ultimately why he is hurt. But I feel like the passing can still be there, but he hasn't really played as much. He doesn't have as much starts as C.J. Stroud or as Bryce Young. He's the rawest out of all of them, and I think he's also the youngest, if I'm not mistaken. And they're up there in the division too, at 2-1. The same thing you could say with the Texans. I think the Texans are 1-2, if I'm not mistaken.
Sounds like you're arguing for fact and not cap.
Yeah. I'm still gonna say I thought Bryce Young was the best quarterback in the draft, just overall as quarterback goes. But I just don't think the weapons around it, like the team, like the way that they got him, they had to give away DJ Moore. Like I feel like if Bryce Young at least had DJ Moore, he would look a lot better than what he looks like right now. I feel like he's kind of just running for his life, trying to figure it out as being, the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. And I just think his situation isn't as good as, the Colts or the Texans. But I'm still going to say cap. I still think that they picked the right quarterback.
I don't know. That's debatable because I feel like is the other situation that much better? Are they that much greater? And it's like, not necessarily. But hey, we'll see. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. He's not winning Rookie of the Year. I'll say that.
No, that's going to CJ.
Well, Manny, you said it best. Only time will tell. And Jaevon, the end of your argument there to me almost sounded like you were describing Justin Fields' situation. And Justin Fields has DJ Moore. So I'm not sure if DJ Moore would have made a huge difference for Bryce Young. And
Bryce Young can read a defense. Justin Fields can't.
So to answer this question myself, factor cap, the Panthers picked the wrong quarterback at number 1 overall. I'm sorry. I was really trying my best to just move to ignore that, and I couldn't. I'm sorry. The Panthers picked the wrong quarterback at number 1 overall in April. I'm going to say cap just because, to me, I haven't seen enough. It's been 3 games from C.J. Stroud, 2 games from Bryce Young.
Oh, yeah, he's already hurt, too.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Jaevon, because that was the biggest concern about Bryce Young. Like, Bryce Young was by far and away. He wasn't on that Trevor Lawrence level of guaranteed number 1 pick. Oh, he's a generational talent. But he was on that level of he is the consensus number 1 overall pick. It's not like leading up to the draft. It was like, everyone's going to be skeptical and be like, who are the Panthers going to pick? Oh, are they going to go Stroud? Are they going to go Young? Who are they going to pick? Well, to me, it seemed kind of obvious that they were going to go with Bryce Young. And so to me, I think it's Cap just because I haven't seen enough. And that's coming from the Ohio State Buckeyes fan here. And I'm really trying to just keep my bias aside because I love CJ. He should have been a national champion, if not for our kicker shanking that field goal in the semifinal against Georgia. And so I would love to say it's a fact and that CJ should have gone number 1 overall, but I truly, just putting my bias aside, I haven't seen enough. And so
Played on Snoop Dogg's team as a kid, by the way.
Sure did. Yeah. Out of Inland Empire, California. Shout out to CJ Stroud. All right, guys, we got one more factor cap before we move on to Vonny's hotline. And Jaevon, I'm going to start this off with you because your bias runs deep. So, factor cap, Brock Purdy is better than Matthew Stafford.
Oh, yeah, this is wow. I gotta say, Cap, this is Brock's played how many games? And this is coming from a Niner fan. Matt Stafford did not play well this a couple hours ago on Monday Night Football. I thought Brock Purdy got the best of him even last week when they played against him in LA at Levi South. But to say that he's better than Matt Stafford, I'm going to say that's Cap. Matt Stafford has the numbers. He's been in this league for a long time. I think he's the number 1 passing leader in like Detroit Lions history, if I'm not mistaken. And he dude's got a Super Bowl. You could say this and that third about him, but the year that he came, literally the year that he got traded to LA, he brought a Super Bowl to LA. And Brock Purdy is a guy who was picked last in the draft. Matthew Stafford, it's like polar opposites of just type of guys that they are. Like Matt Stafford's like a big arm guy that came out of Georgia who was drafted number 1 overall, and Brock Purdy was literally the last person in the draft drafted overall, and he's already been to an NFC Championship game. So there's a lot of promise for Brock Purdy. I think that I think Purdy can definitely be a top 10 quarterback in this league at one point in time if he keeps playing the way that he's playing right now. But I don't think he's better than Matt Stafford. That's just that would just be just blind ignorance, and that's coming from a 49er. That's coming from a 49er fan. So, yeah, I'm not gonna politic. It's stats over politics. So, he's not better than Matt Stafford, but does he have the potential to be better than Matt Stafford? Absolutely.
Manny, when I first put this question on the ticker, it looked like something smelled terrible where you're at because you did not like this question at all. Understandable. But I have to ask anyways. Manny, factor cap. Brock Purdy is better than Matthew Stafford.
Oh, Jesus, this is a cap all the way. I'm trying to figure out who did Kevin come up with this question?
Had to.
Yeah, Kevin did come up with this question. It was probably just so he could get me and Toddy to talk.
He's trying to get us fired up. Yeah.
Yeah, he just didn't want you guys to say something positive. We came up with this one. Yeah, no, this is for sure, Cap. Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl winner, number 1 overall pick. Like I said, he has the numbers, able to throw the ball anywhere on the field. No look passes. Yeah, like now I'm not here to say that Brock Purdy doesn't have the potential to be better than Matthew Stafford, but right now, just even from a pure talent standpoint, I think Stafford has him. Yeah, Cap.
Yeah, Manny, I think that Kevin was definitely setting up Jaevon and I on this one. He either wanted to hear us talk down on Brock Purdy, as we're not really. I mean, I haven't spoken yet, but Jaevon didn't even really speak down on Brock Purdy. It's kind of just the same argument that I made, where we haven't seen enough. But if one of us was going to be politicking, I bet Kevin would have made a little note of it and been like, "Hey, you remember on this day when you said that Brock Purdy was better than Matthew Stafford?" Okay. So Khalil, factor cap. Brock Purdy's better than Matthew Stafford.
Cap. Is this what have you done for me lately, league? I mean, Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl. Purdy was almost in a Super Bowl, but not close. I mean, he's only played how many games?
Like 8 or 9?
Yeah,
7?
so
Yeah, 8. Yeah.
But I mean, he is 8-0 in his starts, but
Never lost.
Undefeated.
yeah,
Never.
but But it's just I haven't seen enough of Purdy, a full season of Purdy. Now, can we say something after the season if he finishes out undefeated? Potentially, maybe. But no, Matthew Stafford still hasn't beat.
I agree. This is Cap. We're going to make it unanimous. Like I said, Kevin tried to set us up. Toddy, we didn't take the bait because, I mean, I would definitely sound like I'm politicking if I just made that whole argument about not seeing enough from Bryce Young or CJ Stroud and then to say, yeah, Brock Purdy's only
We've
9,
seen enough.
10 games. I've seen enough. I will say this. I have seen enough to say that Brock Purdy is an NFL starting quarterback. But I haven't seen enough to say that Brock Purdy is better than Matthew Stafford because Matthew Stafford has been, or maybe not this year, but he was a top 10 quarterback in the league for at least like 5 years in a row. I don't think he got in that top 5 discussion with an Aaron Rodgers, a Tom Brady, all those guys that we know are in the top 5. I don't think he ever broke into that discussion, but he's been consistent. And that's the reason why he had to get out of Detroit is because he was putting up numbers for years. And unlike a Kirk Cousins, where Kirk Cousins is just putting up empty stats, but at the end of the game, he can't get you that win. Matthew Stafford was getting a lot of late game wins and just proving that he was that guy. And so to say Brock Purdy is already better than Matthew Stafford, no, this is Cap. I need to see more. And so as we move on here on episode number 52 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon, Toddy, Khalil Alston, and Manny Anderson. Manny and Khalil, we want to be respectful of your time. And so before we get to our last segment, I'm just going to give you guys the option. If you want to stick around and hear Vonny's picks for this upcoming week so he can get you some free money, feel free to stick around. But this is going to be Jaevon's segment where we hear from him. And so if it's getting a little late for you guys, we appreciate you being with us for 2 hours. Just want to give you guys the out if you want to take it. If not, stay with us, and we're gonna end things with Vonny's hotline. But Jaevon, I'm gonna put you on the spotlight because this is all you, man. So Jaevon is now. Oh, I love it. And so Jaevon is now 9-7 so far on Vonny's hotline. What is that? Through 4 weeks, Jaevon is now 9-7 because he was 8-4, 1-3 week this past week. It was a little rocky. I mean, I tried to tell him shouldn't have picked against the Buckeyes, but it is all good. And so, anyways, Jaevon, you're 9-7, and so just what do you think? And what do you got for us this week with Vonny's hotline?
Just going back to the hotline this past week, started off hot. Florida State won in overtime. It was a very close game. Keon Coleman, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Travis. They were pretty much just throwing up. They were just throwing up the ball to Keon Coleman. Like at the end of the game, they were just like, "Hey man, you're the best player on the field. Go out and go get it." The fumble 6 kind of changed everything from that game because Clemson was driving down the field, kind of doing whatever they pretty much went. I think they were up 7-2 and they were driving. And the sack on Cade Klubnik that ultimately ended up as a fumble 6, pretty much changed the outcome of the game. And that got us our only win. That was on Saturday. We were feeling good. Dion gets smoked on the road. I don't know if anybody was kind of waiting for or saw that coming at all. So that hurt. And then, the night game that ended on literally the last play of the game, that didn't feel good. And then Baker Mayfield gets stomped at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. So didn't end up covering the spread. So with that being said, we're going to do, I did 3 college this past weekend. So we're going to go back. That's probably what it was, Shaun. I did too many college games and then I got all on my high horse after going 4-0. And so we're going to go back to our roots here. So first game on the hotline, we are going to roll with Kansas plus 17 at Texas. Now, Texas is a very formidable opponent. I think Kansas has been playing out of their mind. Their quarterback, Jaylon Daniels, from Kansas, he was hurt earlier in the year and then kind of came back storming, ended up throwing for almost 300 yards in his return. I think it was against Illinois. A solid opponent, but this Kansas team is physical. They can run the ball, and I think they have a dynamic quarterback too. Now Texas is supposed to be a championship contending team. They've kind of had some slip ups against teams like a Baylor. I wouldn't say they slipped up against Baylor, but I think the week before that against Wyoming, they kind of gave them fits a little bit. And Wyoming has a solid defense. I think Kansas has a solid defense. They're now newly ranked. And I think Jaylon Daniels is a dynamic quarterback. He's going to give Texas some fits, and they're going to be able to run the ball pretty well. We've kind of said the common theme: if you're able to run the ball well against teams, you're going to be able to win the game. Now, I'm not picking Kansas to win the game because they are plus 525, but I do think they cover the 17-point spread. So we're going to go with Kansas plus 17. Another game here on this list. There's a couple of good ones. I will probably go with LSU money line over Ole Miss. LSU is coming up off of a tight, almost overtime game against Arkansas. Kind of fell asleep at the wheel. Arkansas just lost to BYU last week, so it was a game that they probably should have won. Gave LSU all they had this past week up until the end. Ole Miss is coming off of a loss against Alabama. A lot of people were kind of picking Alabama or they were picking Ole Miss to dethrone Alabama. Lane Kiffin was talking a lot of smack earlier in the week, and I was like, well, I get that Alabama's quarterback situation hasn't been the greatest this past year, but it's still Alabama. It's still Nick Saban. Nick Saban is going to figure out a way to, not lose to Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss has beaten Alabama in I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a long time since Ole Miss has beaten Alabama. But LSU will be traveling to Ole Miss. They are 3-point favorites in this game. I do like LSU straight up. You could take the points in this game too if you really wanted to, but be a little bit on the safer side. I'm going to take LSU money line. As Shaun is still looking up that stat.
I got it for you.
Go ahead.
2015 was the last time that Ole Miss beat Alabama, as they beat number 15. Ole Miss beat Alabama, who was number 2 at the time, 43-37. They also did beat them the previous year, but for some reason on Wikipedia it's not highlighted. But anyways, point is 2015 was the last time that Ole Miss beat Alabama, so it's been a bit.
Not mad at it. Okay, now we're gonna go to the NFL. We are going to love the Dolphins this weekend, traveling to Buffalo. I don't know if you guys heard, but the Miami Dolphins just put up 70 points against the highly, I'd say, overrated Denver Broncos. Not sure if anybody expected. I think they were favored. They were definitely favored to win. But I don't know if anybody thought that this would be something that would turn into 70 points at all. Tua has been on a tear. Tyreek Hill has been looking like the best receiver in the league. Now let's not dust off the Bills. The Bills are favored in this game because it's because they're at home. But the Bills did kind of handle the Commanders, who I recently saw that the Commanders are getting sued that they want to change their name back to the Redskins now. But that's neither here nor there. But I think this Miami defense will be able to cause turnovers. As for our only listeners, Shaun just drew a picture up on a piece of paper, 70. Like it's the Wilt Chamberlain number when he held up 100, but it's 70 in this picture. So love the Dolphins in this game. They're on the road. They're plus 130. We're recording this on a Monday. The line might change. Line definitely is going to change from now until Sunday. But I do like the Dolphins this week. Another team I do like, and this is not because Khalil's on the show.
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Are
you guys have been agreeing too much lately for my liking.
The Green Bay Packers are 1.5-point dogs, and they're plus 105 as of right now. That might move a little bit. This coming Thursday is when this game is. This is the first time I'm picking a Thursday night game on the hotline. Usually the games are Saturday and Sunday. But I like Green Bay in this game. This past weekend, I thought Jordan Love played okay. I think he threw for almost 260 this past weekend. Khalil did mention that Aaron Jones is probably going to be a go this game. I would like to see if Jair Alexander is going to be back. I just think this Packers team is a lot. I think this Packers team is better than a lot of people think. They are 2-1. I did not have them winning this past weekend, so that was kind of a bonus win in my book. I do have them winning the division, and hell, we even saw Aaron Rodgers texting Jordan Love, "Thank you for keeping the ownership," and that was the win after the Bears. So I'm gonna rock with Green Bay to win this game outright, plus 105. This line might change by Thursday because we'll probably start seeing news about guys getting healthier, like Aaron Jones. We'll probably end up moving the line a little bit that he's probably going to play. Do you know what Jair's injury is? His ankle? What is it?
No, I didn't get the chance.
Undisclosed injury for Jair Alexander. But I know Christian Watson has not practiced since the preseason. So I don't think he's probably going to play unless I saw today that he didn't practice today. So by some miracle, if he's practicing tomorrow, that'll be good news. Because usually if you miss 2 practices during the week, you're probably not going to play on game day. So we'll like to see what his status is. But I thought Jordan Love has been looking good. Like he's been making some cool little sidearm throws. Like I think the arm talent is there. LaFleur's offenses look solid. You know, hasn't really dropped off as much. I get Aaron Rodgers left, but I mean the offense, guys are still kind of getting over them. The scheme is still there, but you know when you have star players out, you're going to look a little bit different too. So, I like Green Bay to win this game. I think the game's probably going to be close though, but it's going to be at Green Bay, home field advantage. Place is going to be rocking. I like Green Bay in this game.
Who are they playing again?
The Lions, Detroit.
Okay.
So, feel like quarterback matchups is kind of even. Jared Goff, Jordan Love, even. Defenses, I think Green Bay has the edge as far as defense go. I love both of their D lines for the most part. But I feel like the back seven is kind of where it kind of gets murky a little bit. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson's out for the year, so we'll see. That's why Romeo Doubs is probably going to, have to be able to get open. And this would be a great, great game for Christian Watson to play in. But obviously he is not healthy. So I feel like Aaron Jones, like when we saw Aaron Jones week 1 when he was healthy, he was making plays pretty much all over the field, scoring touchdowns, rushing, catching the ball out the backfield. So he looked pretty well. So I think he's going to be back for this game. And like the Packers this weekend. So to review, we have Kansas plus 17 at not the Horseshoe, wherever Austin, Texas is pretty much where they'll be playing. We have LSU money line versus Ole Miss. We have Dolphins money line at plus 130. We have Packers money line plus 105. That is a Thursday night game, so no Sunday games. So pretty much the hotline would be over by Saturday. So
and to answer your question, Jaevon, the injury for Jair Alexander of the Packers is a back injury, which we know can be pretty tricky. So we'll see what happens there. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for episode number 52 of Stats Over Politics. Khalil, thank you for joining us. Manny, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you guys. And, we'll catch you all again next Monday, but got to read the spiel before we get out of here. As everyone who's still tuned in, please make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It really helps grow. And if you enjoyed the show, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok at Stats Over Politics, and on X at Stats for Politics. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. If you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. As you've been tuned in to episode number 52 of Stats Over Politics, for Jaevon Toddy, our guys Kevin Dent, Garry Singh, Manny Anderson, and Khalil Alston, I am Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week on another episode of Stats Over Politics. Khalil said, I'm out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Hey, you guys both. There you go. All right, Todd.